Hey everyone, I'm Meg Oliver. An American convicted of spying for Israel will be released from prison in the fall. Jonathan Pollard was a civilian analyst for the Navy when he was given a life sentence in 1985 for selling classified information. Pollard has served 30 years in prison and was eligible for parole in November. His release has recently surfaced as a possible concession to the Israeli government following tensions over the U.S. nuclear Iran deal. Dan Raviv joins us now from Washington. He's a CBS News radio correspondent and the author of books on Israeli intelligence and Israel-U.S. relations. Dan, thanks so much for joining us. Is this a concession to Israel?
Turns out it's not. We kept asking U.S. officials, and they say, no, it's just part of the normal parole process. Pollard in November will have spent exactly 30 years behind bars. It's absolutely normal. It's in the federal statute that existed when he was arrested, that if you get a life sentence, you're eligible for what's called mandatory parole after 30 years, meaning if the U.S. government doesn't argue against it, you're going to be let out. And that's what we found out today. The Department of Justice is not arguing against it. The Parole Commission is letting him out. And at the White House, they still say it has nothing to do with the Iran nuclear deal and, in effect, nothing to do with Israel-U.S. relations. Kind of surprising, Meg.
What else are you hearing about that? Is anybody questioning the timing, considering this just happened after the Iran nuclear deal?
Just one of those coincidences. I really mean that, because November 21st is the exact 30th anniversary of his being arrested. Now, certainly if we go back to what happened then, you had this American Jew who thought that he had to save Israel, that it was terrible that the U.S. government wasn't sharing vital intelligence with the Jewish state, and so he took it upon himself with his job as a U.S. Navy civilian intelligence analyst, and so he had access to like everything. He took it upon himself to offer to the Israelis that he could give them great secrets. They took him up on the offer. In fact, an Israeli agency paid him about $50,000. And U.S. prosecutors say that Pollard was always in it for the money. His wife at the time was part of the plot. She got a shorter sentence. They have divorced since then. And among the photographs you're seeing are visits to him in prison by Israeli officials. Politicians in Israel have wanted him released. They say that he's a hero as far as they're concerned. And of course, the FBI and the CIA have stood against it, saying, no, anyone who works in U.S. intelligence, anyone, even if it's for Israel, a friendly country, no, we have to discourage that. That's why he got a life sentence. And, well, you know, November will mark 30 years. He'll be 60 years old when he gets out.
Dan, exactly what did he steal? Take us back for a moment.
Documents and satellite photographs. Thousands, probably tens of thousands. Just about anything that Israeli intelligence asked for. And frankly, the Israelis have always been wondering, what is it that the United States watches in the Middle East? Well, Pollard was able to tell them from 1983 to 85. For about 2 years, bringing to them suitcases full of stuff. Generally, printouts. And so it was said at the trial that if you sort of added it all up and piled it up, it would fill several train cars, a vast quantity. And that's why, again, federal prosecutors and the intelligence community here in the U.S. have always been really angry at him. They don't think that he shows remorse. Instead, he thinks that he did the right thing and that he was trying to help Israel. Israel has apologized and swears that it no longer spies inside the U.S.
So what does his release mean for Israel then?
Well, it's a human story, obviously really big. Folks there want him released. There'll be a celebration. He has a second wife that he wants to live with over there. They got married during his years in prison. I would say it clears the deck of a difficult issue, of a source of tension between the U.S. and Israel. Now, during the 6.5 years of the Obama presidency, there have been quite a few clashes with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, not only on the Iran nuclear issue, but talks with the Palestinians and just kind of the way they see the world between Netanyahu and President Obama. This at least takes this issue, if you will, a humanitarian issue, off the table, so the Israelis don't have to keep asking for Pollard's release, and the Obama administration doesn't have to look like a bunch of tough guys denying it. He will get out. It doesn't mean that the U.S. and Israel will start agreeing on everything, especially on the Iran issue.
Do you expect the Israeli Prime Minister to come out and make a statement on this?
Well, yes, I do expect that he will express gratitude that the U.S. judicial system is letting Pollard out. Now, Israeli politicians will say that he should have been let out a long time ago. Pollard's been ill in prison. He's applied for parole in the past, and he's been turned down. It's so ironic because the White House is denying that this is a gesture or a favor to Israel. There's no way that Netanyahu can thank President Obama for the gesture. The White House says there wasn't one.
Yeah, fine line there. So now there was and there may still be a poster of Pollard inside the CIA headquarters as a warning to those who might try to follow in his footsteps.
Yep.
Do you know about that? Is it still there?
Yeah, so I understand from my latest sources a couple of years ago, there is a warning of what would happen to you if you work for the U.S. intelligence community and you're sworn to keep secrets and respect whatever is classified and never give it to anyone or even talk about it. Pollard is literally the poster boy for what they consider disloyalty, and then look what happens. You get a life sentence. In his case, serve 30 years in prison. They think that's a pretty strong message.
All right, Dan Raviv in our Washington Bureau. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.